this is Cathynan Herbal ABC, and I'm Cathynan. I'm called that because that's what my oldest grandson likes to call me, which is relevant because this series, this ABC that I'm going to be doing, is because I'm putting a book together for a little legacy to my grandchildren. They've all learned a little bit, whether they wanted to or not, about herbs with their nanny, and actually have shown quite a lot of interest, and it's lovely to be able to pass on my little bit of knowledge. And that's what this is also about, is that I have got quite a lot of knowledge put together now, and I don't want it to go nowhere. So yeah, I'm making the book for my grandkids and sticking this out on YouTube, and we'll see what happens to it. Yeah, it's about sharing my love of herbs and my faith in some of the remedies that we'll be talking about. And it's a two-way thing. So please feel free to comment constructive criticism where you think that maybe I've got something wrong, want to talk about it, it's fine. And also any ideas extending our communal knowledge about each herb. And I've chosen this format, quite a simple format, so that I stay on track, because I will veer off all over the place. Quite passionate about my subject, and I can always think of something to say. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to not be, if anything, fast-paced about this whatsoever. The technology, although I'm getting some excellent help elsewhere, my knowledge, I hope, will improve during the series. Yeah, so please don't expect anything too flashy. It's not going to happen. Okay, so the format that I've taken is this. So first, every time I will tell you the herb and its name, and also any Latin names or traditional folk names, whatever that I know of. Especially as some of the folk names tell us 10 times more than the Latin names do. Well, that's not true. I mean, if your knowledge of Latin is there, of course Latin names tell you something, but the folk names tell you something that's really inherent in our history, and it's a lovely way to learn about the herbs, is to learn why they're called what they're called. Then the first thing I'll go into every time after the name is the cautions. So I will say, to start with, if you have anything serious wrong with you, of course consult a professional practitioner. My main philosophy about all these herbs is that if you keep gently looking after yourself every day, then the likelihood of you falling for some of the more serious diseases is lessened. And also, if you do fall, then your recovery time is, I think, quickened, made faster. And the whole process becomes a little bit easier. I've seen my friends drop, and my system is such that I can kind of get anything and it doesn't hit me too hard. I mean, if, you know, I could get berry and die tomorrow, and that would make me sound like a hypocrite. But on a general level, my health is pretty good, especially for my age, and I'm on no pharmaceuticals whatsoever. Okay, I will own up to the odd ibuprofen, and I've had a very rough winter, which I'll tell you more about because it is again relevant because of the herbs that I use to look after myself. And that's what this is all about as well, really, is we can look after ourselves. We don't need to go running to the doctor for everything. We were taught that we should. But now, as most of you realise, these things are letting us down. And also the pharmaceuticals that are used, quite often the side effects are far worse than the original problem. So I've got a million reasons why I respect herbs so much. I'm going to stop now because if I do it too long, the technology doesn't like it. So I'm going to come back in a second. So this is the second part of my general introduction to Cathynan's Herbal ABC. After the cautions, we'll go through the cautions quickly first. So I will go through these cautions at the beginning of every herb that I talk about, primarily just to get it over with, so that we can get on to all the good stuff. And also, if you are in the category of people that this herb wouldn't be particularly good for, you can switch off if you want to. So I'll tell you straight up. I mean, the most sensitive people usually with the herbs are pregnant women, and I will always tell you if it's slightly dangerous for a pregnant women to be using each herb. And apart from that, most of the herbs I use are not dangerous. They will be dangerous to some people just about the same way as almost anything else is. If that's the case, I will tell you. Okay, so then I'll go on to the actions of each herb and their medicinal uses and what they can help prevent and sometimes cure. Quite simple, but it'll take some explaining for each herb. Then we'll go on to preparation, and the preparation that I'm using mainly is the preparations that I use, and because my lifestyle is quite hectic usually, these preparations take no time at all, and they take no great medicinal knowledge. Quite often teas, sometimes an ointment, sometimes a tincture, nothing very complicated. This will change. I've only had my most recent gardens a few years. And as, of course, they grow more mature, I have more herbs to harvest. And so my ambitions on how to use those herbs are going to change. Basically pretty basic preparation. And now the recognition of each herb. So the herbs I'm using are all either easy to grow, easy to find, or very cheap to buy in this country. This was my premise when I first started collating 5 years ago. Started to collate the knowledge I got from the course that I did, which covered everything, Ayurvedic and Chinese, which is all wonderful. And I can certainly chat about that sort of thing. But I wanted this first alphabet anyway to be totally about stuff that you can do yourself and that involve very little money. Mainly because I learned about herbs because I was a single mum of 3 kids, because the doctors was a long way away, because I had become disillusioned completely with the pharmaceutical industry, especially in the face of what the treatments they were trying to give me for my children. And that was when I genned up and started looking at alternatives, as did many, 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 many of us. I certainly wasn't alone. But I've kept at it. And being quite extreme in nature, I wanted to delve into exactly how we could look after ourselves. And I'm kind of spent the rest of my life doing that, really, more or less. So after recognition, which will help you with planting, but also, of course, foraging, we'll go on to how to grow these herbs, most of which I will have some experience of. I've been a gardener quite a lot in my life. And again, most of them are going to be pretty easy to grow because they're largely native plants, because that's my premise in doing this. After that, I go to permaculture. This is a subject that's very dear to my heart, and we will be going into why every plant that we look at is not only good for us, but it's also good for the soil and the environment in general, and the wildlife and the bees and everything. Permaculture is very important to me, and it's going to be an interesting little section of this series, I think. Then I'm going to go into the phytochemicals, and I will stutter and stammer because it's all the science, and I do know this stuff, but it nevertheless trips me up quite a lot. Just so that you know which constituents of each herb is the active constituents that are going to cause an effect. After that, I go to the magic, the folklore of the plants. We have to respect the fact that these plants have been around for a long, long while, and people all over the world have got very similar, actually, stories about each herb. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll go in, at the very end, we'll go in and do a little tarot spread for the influence which each herb. Now, I started learning my herbalism from culpepper, and I would thoroughly recommend anybody who wants to study herbs to look at him. And he was very knowledgeable about the astrology of the herbs, which planet ruled which herb and that sort of thing. So I'll be going into that. And as I say, the tarot. So that's it. So that's what my Cathynan's Herbal ABCs basically going to look like. Hi, good morning. Lovely bright morning here today. Sun from the east coming in my window. Kelp. K is for kelp. So the first thing is what we need to be aware of. So not for children under 5 years. Not if you're on thyroid meds such as thyroxine, and you'll see why later as we go into the actions, and not while pregnant or while breastfeeding. Not entirely sure why that is. Some herbs go over the divide between mother and baby, so yeah, just take that advice. There will be reasons, but I'm not entirely aware of the reasons. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so to prepare, you can use the whole plant. You can use half a teaspoon of the dried herb, a little bit more if fresh, per cup of boiling water, and infuse for 15 minutes. And as usual, what I would do, I'm a proper waste not, want not kind of person. And I would make a pot, say about 5 cups, and then go back to it. Because you'll see, especially with this thing, because you infuse it for 15 minutes, and then you only drink half to 1 cup, but you do that 3 times a day. You can make a tincture, so it's 1 part kelp to 5 parts 25% ethanol, and I've put a question mark behind this because I still haven't sorted this one out for myself. Amazon sell 75% and 99%, but they don't sell 25%. So I'm not entirely sure where I would get hold of that kind of stuff. I'm tempted to say just use the usual, I tend to use vodka, use the usual vodka that you use. But anyway, however you manage to make this tincture, so you're making a tincture obviously by putting the 1 part kelp to 5 parts of the alcohol. Certainly if someone's willing to give it a go with alcohol and let me know how they get on, that would be great. If not, I'll have to do the experimenting myself, which is fine. The dose is 4 to 10 ml, so it's very small. It's going to be a really strong concoction by the time you've got the tincture of kelp. You can also add kelp to soups, salads, cottage cheese, muesli. Kelp can also be made into a powder with alfalfa for a tea or a seasoning. So yeah, quite nice to be able to use the fresh stuff if you can. Okay, so the actions of kelp. Kelp can be anti-stroke. It's antibiotic and anti-hypothyroid. That means it protects against an underactive thyroid. It stimulates the endocrine gland, which regulates metabolism, growth, reproduction, etc. Kelp is anti-obesity and anti-rheumatism. It's a laxative and a blood tonic. It's a mild diuretic, which allows toxins to be expelled through the urine. It's an adaptogen, which helps your body deal with stress, anxiety, and fatigue. Kelp stimulates lymph circulation, which positively affects your cardiovascular system. It aids thyroid disease and prevents thyroxine deficiency. So you remember the warning not to use kelp if you're taking pharmaceutical thyroxine that would overload your system. Kelp will help prevent or treat a simple goiter, which is this swelling on the neck that you see, resulting from an enlarged thyroid gland. Now my daughter had this goiter and ended up having operation on her thyroid gland, and they took too much off, and so she's now on thyroxine more or less for the rest of her life. I think she manages it more than that. She doesn't take it every day as they say to, but yeah, beware. I think it's I was advised, rather than her having the operation, to go in the direction of I think it was wolfbane is the one. Please tell me if I've got that wrong. I'm remembering from a long while ago about that. But we went the operation route and regret it. So yeah, so it can help obesity if the obesity is due to either low thyroid function, they quite often go hand in hand, or faulty nutrition. Kelp can prevent listlessness, rickets, and glandular or general debility, weakness, and can build up a broken constitution, including lost body heat through, for example, hypothermia. Kelp may help prevent arteriosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries, by maintaining the elasticity of the walls of the blood vessels. Kelp improves the health of both male and female reproductive organs, and the liver, and the gallbladder, and the pancreas. It will ward off the onset of rheumatism or arthritis. Kelp raises metabolic rates by increasing the hormone production by the thyroid gland. This action may be limited to a poorly functioning thyroid. Okay. We're going to go on to recognise and forage next. So we're not talking about growing kelp, because I don't think many of us would have the wherewithal, but we're going to talk about how it's grown for sure. So to recognise and forage, kelp is really an umbrella word for over 100 species of brown seaweed found in cold, nutrient-rich waters. They form forests underwater, and kelp has a very sturdy holdfast, which helps it grasp onto surfaces. It has a solid stipe, which is like a stalk or a stem, and a hand of several long, smooth fronds that can grow up to 1 metre long. Some fronds develop bladders full of air, you've seen them I'm sure, that help them float. The UK has an amazing diversity of kelp because of our coastline and varying habitats. And you can't really go wrong. It's any brown seaweed. There's as well. So you can't go wrong, because at the moment there are no toxic kelps on our coastline. This could change with climate change. This could change, but at the moment we have plenty of different kinds of brown seaweed or kelp, which are all equally good for you, and none of them are toxic. So it's quite a safe little foraging bet to go and discover what's available on your local beaches. There's more to say about that though. Kelp likes to attach to a solid rocky seabed and needs quite a lot of light, so they tend to live in shallow water. When foraging, you should only take what is still attached, so rock pools would be the place to look, or what has washed up recently, so on the last tide. All kelp can be used, as I said, and currently there are no toxic species in the UK. So really something to worth, if you're not a great forager, which I'm not particularly, I'm learning and have been learning over the years. But I know some people, it's kind of really trending at the moment, and good people are learning to go and get their own food. You know, how much nicer to go and look in the woods rather than go to the supermarket, which will just sell you loads of chemicals if you start reading the ingredients in the supermarket. It's horrific. Okay, so permaculture, the importance of kelp in ocean permaculture is really significant. Has the potential to change the direction of the whole planet. Plans are to grow it on a large scale, not only for its medicinal value, but also because it takes carbon out of the atmosphere and the shallow upper ocean and stores it safely in the middle and deep ocean for thousands of years. Kelp deacidifies the water, which makes it easier for shellfish to grow. And all this carbon and everything, it all helps the fish population in general as well. So kelp is really, really precious. So the more, it's one of the few things you can maybe eat more of to help the planet, because it will encourage people who can do this scale of farming in the ocean, and and it's for the good of all. It will, it will turn around the depletion of shellfish and fish. Yeah, it can't be a bad thing. Oh, laminaria, I forgot to say the name, the Latin name of kelp is laminaria. So we're going to look next at the phytochemicals. Okay, so the phytochemicals, the constituents of kelp are phenols, polysaccharides, loads of minerals. They're packed full of minerals, the seaweeds, including iodine, sodium, magnesium, sulfur, silicon, zinc, copper, calcium, vitamins A, C and K, antioxidants, protein, fibre. So you can see just from that list how precious they are, nutritionally speaking. So the phenols, these are plant compounds found in fruit, veg, herbs, tea, red wine, coffee, dark chocolate. Phenols are antioxidants, so they reduce free radicals. They prevent, so that stops cell damage and cancer, prevents heart disease as well, and diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, depression, inflation, oxidative stress, which is an imbalance between antioxidants and free radicals. Yes, that's your phenols. Your polysaccharides are complex, long-chain carbohydrates. They are large molecules made from many monosaccharides, which are simple sugars, and they're bound together by special enzymes, which are called glycosidic bonds. And the polysaccharides are found in pistachios, spinach, potatoes, beans, rice, oats, corn, flaxseed, pears, barley, apples and oranges. Polysaccharides support healthy blood sugar, healthy weight, heart, blood pressure, cholesterol, long-lasting energy and reduced risk of cancer. So the minerals in kelp, which we're saying really high, really good stuff. So the iodine is what helps prevent goiters, regulates hormones, helps fetal development, improves metabolism, enhances brain health and bone health, improves immune response and central nervous system. And iodine is an essential mineral. Sodium regulates the blood. Sodium electrolytes regulate body fluids, especially blood, and improves nerve function and maintains normal heart function and improves muscle function. So that's your sodium. Magnesium is such a precious mineral and most of us are quite lacking. I'm very fond of my bath salts and I've even got a magnesium spray just to stop them cramps, so it's found in dark chocolate. I also eat lots of just discovered a recipe for cacao powder, and which is really high in magnesium, and avocados, and it's really basically just to mix it with a bit of I put a bit of I've done vanilla pods in agave syrup. So I put a bit there in, that in for sweetness, and I sometimes stick a banana in with it. But basically just the cacao powder and the avocado does the job. I mean, it's almost daily I go to that one at the moment. Yeah, and nuts, which also I will put in. So that's, that just those first three is a really nice dessert, which will sort your magnesium out for the day. They're in legumes, tofu, seeds, whole grains. Magnesium improves your mood and your sleep and your ability to exercise. It helps regulate blood sugar and brain function, and it helps counteract depression. So really good reason to have some of that as we're going into winter. I'm making this, you'll be getting this much later, but I'm making this on the 28th of November. And it's beautiful today. Yesterday was dire. Okay. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't be ungrateful for the weather, but it was my birthday and it was a bit miserable. I couldn't even go out really. So today is sunny, so we're okay. So sulphur is found in beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, asparagus, cabbage, onions, broccoli, leafy greens, pearl barley, wheat and oats. It's that thing that makes sprouts smell. It's that kind of eggy smell is sulphur. But it's really helpful for your joints and your muscles, for pain, for osteoarthritis, for dandruff, for rosacea, which is the red swollen areas on your face, interstitial cystitis, which is chronic bladder inflammation. I've never come across this word before, interstitial. It's interstitial, cystitis. So anyway, you those of us that suffer from cystitis every now and then know what it is. And it's chronic bladder inflammation. Calcium, an alkaline earth metal and mineral, helps build strong bones and teeth, improves muscle movement, supports nerve communication, helps blood clotting, helps release hormones helps release hormones. And it's found in rhubarb, leafy greens, beans and lentils, fortified foods. When I say fortified foods, this is like some cereals and that sort of thing. I don't really touch that kind of thing much. Best off getting your calcium naturally, really. Seeds, almonds and amaranth, which is an interesting vegetable. I've never grown it. My friends have grown it. Well, it's not a vegetable, it's a grain. Very pretty, growing in the garden. It grows, it seems to love it in most UK climates. So, yeah, worth looking at amaranth for your garden. A bit of a calcium hit. So silicon is found in green beans, bananas, leafy greens, brown rice, cereals, lentils and beer. It will improve your skin tone, it balances hormones, it improves joint function and heart health, digestion and your immune system. And then we've got zinc, which is found in spinach, chickpeas, avocados, pumpkin seeds, lentils, hemp seeds, cocoa powder. Zinc helps your immune function. It prevents, that's what it's really, really good for. It prevents oxidative stress, which is when free radicals and antioxidants are out of balance, as I said earlier, and metabolic syndrome, which is if you have metabolic syndrome, you have 3 out of 5 of these following conditions that will. Hang on. So these are the 5 conditions: are abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high serum triglycerides, low serum high density lipoprotein, that's HDL. So if you have 3 out of the 5 of them, they would say you have metabolic syndrome, and that will lead on to worse things like diabetes, for example. So zinc also helps wound healing, type 2 diabetes management, controls blood sugar and prevents diarrhea. It can allay age-related macular degeneration, which is your middle vision, which deteriorates with age. It can protect against osteoporosis, and it can improve bone health generally. So zinc's really important, especially as you get older. Helps men's sexual health. It's antioxidant and balances male hormones, and improves neurological conditions. Osteoporosis is a systemic skeletal disorder with low bone mass and bone tissue deterioration, as I said, often with old age. And neurological conditions are diseases of the nervous system, and zinc will help both of those greatly. Minerals continued. We've got copper found in spirulina, dark chocolate, nuts and seeds, shiitake mushrooms, leafy greens. It's helpful for arthritis, aging, healthy connective tissues, body development, healing wounds, increased energy, iron absorption, thyroid issues, hair and eye colour, and enzymes. Okay, I'm going to leave it there and come back to you with antioxidants. Okay, so we're talking about the antioxidants. We were just talking about the minerals. Now we're talking about the antioxidants of kelp. So antioxidants fight free radicals. So free radicals cause harm when their levels are too high. And it can lead to like diabetes and cancer and diseases like that. So yeah, the antioxidants are found in dark chocolate, kale, pecans, beans, red cabbage, blueberries, strawberries, red grapes, spinach, artichokes, raspberries, and really loads of them in beets. So you eat. Yeah, and that will help prevention of diabetes and cancer. Proteins are nitrogenous organic compounds with large molecules composed of one or more long chains of amino acids. Proteins are essential for the structure of the body, including muscles, hair, etc., and as enzymes and antibodies. They're found in lentils, quinoa, and almonds predominantly. That's your best. Proteins are found everywhere in plants, but the ones I've listed here, lentils, quinoa, and almonds, are probably the best. Quinoa's readily available these days, as are almonds. They're not cheap, but they're cheaper nutritionally. If you take the nutrition into consideration, they're cheaper nutritionally than going to Mackie D's. Like if you go to Mackie D's and bring back and eat, you're still lacking the same things you were lacking before you went and ate. Whereas if you eat your lentils, which are pretty blinking cheap, like red lentils don't cost a lot. Yeah, so yeah. Fibre contains cellulose, lignin and pectin. Fibre is resistant to the action of digestive enzymes and again is found in lentils, but also pears, celery, leafy greens and oatmeal. Vitamin A is, so we're talking about the vitamins now, A, C and K, predominantly in kelp. I'm going to say predominantly all the time now just because it's come back into my vocabulary. Okay, so vitamin A, fat-soluble vitamin and an essential nutrient including retinol, retinol esters and provitamin carotenoids including beta-carotene that you find in carrots. Essential for embryo growth, immunity, your vision, cell division, reproduction, and it's an antioxidant. Vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin found in citrus and other fruits, berries and veg. Vitamin C is essential for immunity, the heart and iron absorption. It protects cells from free radicals and repairs or regenerates tissues. It prevents scurvy. Vitamin C also decreases total and especially total cholesterol, and especially LDL cholesterol. That's low density lipoprotein cholesterol, which is the bad one. It's the one we want rid of, really. It's the one that causes all the problems. And also triglycerides, which triglycerides aren't good either. They'll cause hardening of the arteries. And that leads to risk of strokes and heart problems. Vitamin K is found in veg, leafy greens, kale, collard greens, spinach, turnip greens, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, lettuce, asparagus, pickled cucumber, cabbage, kiwi, green apples. So plenty of vitamin K in what hopefully you're eating already. Vitamin K is useful for osteoporosis, which is a systemic skeletal disorder, and general bone health. So yeah, get your leafy green veg into you. Same old story. Half of it with cooking is finding palatable ways to get loads of it in you, and failing all else, make a soup. But there's plenty of other nice things you can do. There's such clever people out there that will show you what to do with a cauliflower or a cabbage to make it so tasty that you just want more and more of it. I lived with a nice little Italian girl for a little while, and she would eat the most massive carrots. She'd just eat them as they are, just sit there, and we'd all have to sit at the table for ages while she finished her carrot, which was fine. That was well and good as well. Very healthy attitude I encountered in that particular family. How to enjoy your food, and really they were just letting the kid eat what she wanted, and she was choosing quite healthy, but she would sit and eat these carrots. It'd take about an hour, and I swear she did it just to keep the family all around the table. We all kind of played along. Yeah, nice. So what we're we talking about? Your bone health with vitamin K. It also regulates, it's good for your heart as well, good for heart issues, and also regulates your blood sugar. And it also prevents bleeding after injury and prevents calcium buildup, etc. And again, helps prevent strokes. So there's loads in kelp, especially if you think you're the kind of person that's susceptible to diabetes or strokes or heart attacks. Maybe, up your kelp intake and know that the kelp farms, well, as far as I know, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the kelp farms is one of the really helpful things that, of course, the same as anything, as long as it doesn't become this massive monoculture, then it will cause its own problems. But at the moment, a few little kelp farms around the place is only going to do good by moving the carbon down into the Middle Ocean and getting the fish fed and the seafood fed. Sounds grand to me. Okay, so that's the end of the phytochemicals. Come back with the magic. Okay, so we're going to talk about the plant magic of kelp. It's really, really nice this time. Okay, so kelp is ruled by both Neptune and the moon. It's in the element of water and it's feminine. Neptune is the planet of inspiration. It's known as the higher octave of Venus, and brings beauty and love and attraction to a spiritual level. Dreams are in the realm of Neptune, as is the subconscious, illusions, fantasies, and all things magical and enchanting. Neptune intensifies intuition and compassion. Neptune rules the depths of the ocean. Right. So to have this Neptunian influence, so Neptune attracts to itself I'm being really careful how I word this, because I want to get it right. So it's the higher octave of Venus. Yes. So Venus attracts to itself. Neptune attracts to itself to intensify compassion. And intuition and feelings. Not feelings, sorry. Yeah, feelings. But I was talking about the moon when I was talking about feelings. So Neptune rules the depths of the ocean. Yeah, your subconscious and your illusions and your fantasies, so either in a good way or a bad way. So the moon represents emotions again, feelings, intuition again, memories, but particularly the kind of memory that is fed by your emotions. You know, when something triggers you and all of a sudden you feel really sad or angry, you're not even sure why you're getting so upset when somebody just said something little, maybe not very nice, but nothing massive, and all of a sudden you're back in that memory. And the same goes for a beautiful memory. You know, you'll hear a little bit of a song, or get a smell of something, and you think about a particular place or a particular person. So it's that kind of memory. And significant maternal relationships. So also how you got on with your mother. Yeah, the moon can be so in astrology, if your relationship with your mother was great and healthy, which for most of us, more or less, it was, that will show within your chart, but also it will show where you had sticking points. And, you know, in reality, most of us do. And the family relationships are the most ingrained in us. They're the ones that we learnt from the beginning. So we might have taken on other relationships and these emotional memories that we're talking about from the moon. From other relationships since, of course we have, but that your family ones are the ones that you started with, and quite often you spend your whole life learning from. So the element of water reinforces these ideas of emotions, dreams, moodiness, art, and empathy. So interesting that empathy comes here under the moon. And it's this Neptune attracting to itself, but not for itself, for this empathy, for this compassion, especially. And this is accentuated in Kelp, who takes the carbon out of the shallower waters and gives it to the deeper waters, and thus will feed all the fish and all the shellfish. What better expression of Neptunian power, really? Well, Poseidon, he was the other name, I think. Neptune Roman and Poseidon Greek, or I might have that the wrong way around, can't remember. So then we've got also sensitivity, heartfulness, and deep spirituality, and often creativity. So there's a creativity that goes with this. You're creating life. If in the case of Kelp, bringing down the carbon for the fish, it's literally creating life. And maybe it's probably got a lot to do with how babies are made. The feminine nocturnal nature is receptive rather than assertive, and passive rather than aggressive. So Kelp is historically associated with good luck and abundance, this being able to attract. A higher octave of the Venus ability to attract resources and love. People being people, Kelp was used in pouches, tea or spells for money, or to summon the gods of the sea, which is a different matter. And that's quite a nice one, to use Kelp when you're munching your Kelp to make your body better. Maybe send a little thanks to the gods of the sea while you're doing it. Acknowledge that where the Kelp comes from and how important it is and how it's feeding all the fishes. It is like the god of the sea. It certainly belongs to the god of the sea. Kelp was also used to increase psychic abilities, which makes perfect sense. We're talking about art and intuition and fantasy, illusions, all that sort of thing. To banish evil and to protect against fire. So I suppose the simple thing that its waters will protect you against fire. And to banish evil. So it's the psychic ability again. Neptune using the power for the good. So in tarot, in my herbal tarot, the usual one, which I'll show you. It's the Hanged Man, and the Hanged Man can represent a hardening towards life and a lack of compassion towards others. So this is what Kelp's here for, is to get that compassion back in you. A harshness or callousness. It implies a need for helping to find one's own way and a return to source or self. The Hanged Man can signify an invitation or a spiritual breakthrough, a dark night of the soul. So the Hanged Man's all about you needing to have a look at yourself and stop being so hardened and calloused, and develop your compassion towards other people. This all corresponds to the moon and Neptune, which rule Kelp. The moon speaks about hidden problems, and Neptune represents the deep waters you need to navigate as the Hanged Man, in order to overcome a lack of self-knowledge, an inverted perception of reality, and an inability to organise priorities. In other words, get it right, look after everybody like Neptune does. Beautiful. Next week it's going to be another one of my favourites, which is licorice. Okay, so we're going to look now at the tarot of Kelp, and I've already talked about the Hanged Man and what that means about where you're stuck and maybe a bit hardened and lacking compassion. And we also talked about how the Hanged Man is ruled by Neptune, so the god of the sea, where of course Kelp not only lives, but as we've seen in the permaculture section, is of massive value to the ocean. So Kelp really embodies the spirit of Neptune or Poseidon. I think Neptune's the Roman and Poseidon's the Greek. Don't quote me. And here we've got the suspended person. Now, I was talking about the Hanged Man, which is what he's called in traditional decks. This is, as usual, my lovely Herbal deck. The Herbal Tarot by Michael Tierra and Candice Cantin, and they've called him the suspended person, I guess, as a nod to the sensibilities of feminism. Good enough, really. Anyway, he's not by the neck. He's not hanged by the neck either. He's suspended. Yeah, he should be up this way, sorry. So he's suspended by the foot and quite possibly his hands. His hands are tied. He feels like he can't move. A little bit stuck. And this is where Kelp comes in with the freedom that compassion can bring, possibly. The deck I'm using today, which I have already shuffled, so I'm just going to do a little bit more, is the Santa Muerte Tarot, the Book of the Dead. But it is a tarot pack, so it's, it's got the major and minor arcana and the same characters and the same pentacles and cups and all that sort of thing. So, if you've been watching, and most of you anyway, be quite familiar, I guess. So I have really shuffled these a lot now. So we're asking about Kelp and the Kelp relationship to not only the suspended person here, but also Neptune and Poseidon and the ocean and the fish, and also the humans, that it's also so really good for, especially in cases of thyroidism, loads of goodness, all those minerals, massive amount of minerals which are feeding us and the fish, and the ability to take the carbon down into the deeper ocean from the shallows. Amazing plant that we're asking about now. Okay. Just making my 3 piles, picking them up with my left hand, and then start shuffling, see what we get. See what the Santa Muerte Tarot is going to tell us about Kelp. Oh, this one. So we've got the Page of Pentacles here. So already with these cards, they're messing about with the fluidity of the gender. We've got a very ladylike Page of Pentacles here, and we've got a suspended person rather than a hanged man. So we'll look up the Page of Pentacles. This is a very slow moving Page of Pentacles, quite material, quite practical. I have to remember how to use this book. I've had this deck before. I have to remember where. Oh yeah. Okay. So we're looking for the Page of Pentacles. Wait your turn. Cut your losses and reduce waste. So it's being about being practical and frugal, not wasting anything, and patient. After all, the Page of Pentacles is always quite patient, practical, and slow moving. Let's see if we've got anything else for the Kelp here. And the Fool. So the Fool is always a new beginning. Maybe Kelp's waited its turn to be acknowledged as the valuable plant that it is. It does have the potential to save our oceans almost single-handedly. The Fool is travel light on the journey of life. Okay. Yeah, I mean, not entirely sure. If anyone can think of the more obvious connections. Talking about Neptune. Oh no, there's too many there. I'm not taking them. Just one more, please, for Kelp as a clarification. Maybe we'll try the Urban Crow next. Might be a good one. Or we could go for Stacey DeMarco's Deep, Dark and Dangerous. They might throw up a card from the depths of the oceans. I don't think we're getting any more out of there. Just do 3 more. No, it's just chucking loads at me. It's too much. Okay, I'm going to go and then come back with a couple of the other decks, see if we get any more clarification. I'm not really sure where these two fit in, but I'll have a little think about that as well. So I've just moved these cards so you can see them a bit better. I realised that I hadn't showed them to you very well. So this is our feminine Page of Pentacles, and she's looking in her bag, presumably for her money. That's what the Page of Pentacles is all about. Money, material things, quite sensible, practical. And the Fool, look, he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, he's travelling light, talking to a butterfly, he's got his guitar, ready for anything kind of energy. But I'm no further on with tying them in together, so just take that as it comes. Sometimes it just isn't going to gel. But we'll see if we get any more clarity. In fact, I'll move these out of the way so that they don't interrupt our thinking on this the suspended person and the kelp, Neptune and the oceans. Let's see what this. Oh, so also we're looking at the Deep, Dark and Dangerous Oracle by Stacey DeMarco and illustrated by Kinga Britschke. Yeah, it's a nice pack. Might throw up some something sensible. I've done all the shuffling and oh, there's one for us. It's a werewolf, number 29. Number 29, the werewolf. It's not something I would have... Werewolf is about change. Seek and acknowledge your true nature. Understand what is driving you. And the duality is wild versus socialised and control versus chaos. So like the vampire, the werewolf is a creature that has captured the imagination of humans for millennia. There seems to be no end to this. After the end of the time of the European witch trials, the werewolf was became ubiquitous in mythos and evolved to be the stuff of horror stories. Since this time, the wolfman, or Lycan, has featured regularly in tales, both oral and written. This interest has intensified over the last few hundred years with the advent of the printing press, the invention of the horror genre, comics, movies and the internet. We normally see a story of a werewolf involve painful bone-cracking transformation from a mild-mannered human into a wild, uncontrolled beast. The man normally fights the change, but the magic overcomes him and he must be and become his werewolf nature. The trigger for this profound transformation is the rising of the full moon, a powerful symbol of the night and magic at its peak. After the change, there is much howling and running wild, and usually the werewolf goes hunting. This shape-shifting goes from the control and intellect of the man to the uber-wild nature of a savage, top-tier predator. Here we see that we cannot fight against our true nature, in this case the animal inside, even though we may wish to. If these inner desires are not identified or indeed expressed, this repression can lead to an unrestrained explosion of extreme emotion or poor decision-making. The message here about werewolves is finding a balance between our deeper, wilder selves and our responsibilities and positive boundaries as humans. We need to find the sweet spot, say, between being connected to nature and being dominant over nature. Most of us certainly need to renature ourselves to understand that we are part of nature and not a part. Yet most of us live in urban environments. We're sitting in front of the computer all day long as usual. So it's about change and about getting in touch with your true nature, and also about the moon, which also, if you remember, rules Kelp. So maybe Kelp would aid this transition and make this transition gentler and maybe more compassionate, so we won't have to turn into this ferocious werewolf when our emotions get too much. That I found far more relevant, but maybe I'm just not seeing the relevance of the Fool and the Page of Pentacles. I mean, the wait your turn, the patience, I guess. It goes with this suspended person, you know, he's just having to be patient and wait his turn before he can start this new life, I guess. But yeah, the change in the werewolf makes sense with the moon's rulership of Kelp. I'm going to leave. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to do a quick spirit animal. Just again, see what we get that works. I mean, on first glance, I didn't think the werewolf had much to do with, you know, the watery realms of the deep. But when you bring in the moon factor in, it does make a kind of lovely sense. So I'll just split these. It's only a tiny table I'm using, but I like it, and I like the fact that I've got my salt lamp here. So, okay, so we're asking about Kelp. What spirit animal would associate nicely? Oh, far too many went there, I think. Yeah, 3 or 4. Didn't want that many. Just want one good spirit animal to make us think of Kelp and Kelp's properties. Kelp and Neptune and the oceans. And maybe this changing element. I suppose the Fool is talking about change. I mean, and the Hanged Man, the suspended person, is all about change, really. No, the suspended person wants the change. The Fool's got it, and this werewolf is the middle. And it's like the cocoon that can be a painful process. Oh, there's 2 here. That's more sensible. So we've got a snow leopard. Talks about self-reliance. You are strongly... Oh, I'll just show you. There we go. Self-reliance. You're strongly independent and often solitary. Integrity is important for your best outcome. Cloak yourself with invisibility and walk with the shamans. Use your intuition and let your life unfold in silent perfection. So intuition is in the realm of Neptune, pretty much, I would say. Oh, and the giraffe, the visionary. Rise above earthly matters. Glide through life with grace. You're able to see the right path. Stand tall in your self-worth and love with a big heart. Well, they're nice. Whether they're particularly relevant to Kelp, I don't know, but certainly the intuition of the snow leopard. Alright, so that's all for K is for Kelp. The next one is L is for licorice.